go. Hi everybody. Yeah, that was Asia Again by Steely Dan. And on my previous video, I played for you the intro to Asia, which was just a teaser. What you just heard here was the beginning of that extended instrumental middle section of Asia. And I talked last time about the great studio musicians that Fagen and Becker brought in to record their albums. Excuse me. And I neglected to mention that Fagen and Becker, in my opinion, were brilliant songwriters and musicians. And to me, Asia is probably their masterpiece. I can't think of any other Steely Dan song that I like more than Asia. It's just a brilliant composition. The arrangement, the orchestration, it's just beautiful. The rest of this video now, I'm going to give some pointers on the Yamaha MODX keyboard, pretty much for people who are just starting out with the keyboard. I've gotten some comments from people who either have just gotten the keyboard or they've ordered it or they expect to be getting one soon. So this is for the Yamaha MODX beginner. Let's start with pedals. You'll probably want a basic sustain pedal, and this is just a generic sustain pedal. That gets plugged into the foot switch sustain jack. Okay, that's easy. I also use two other pedals with my MODX. This, if you can see it, is a Yamaha FC7, it's called, Foot Controller 7. And this gets plugged into the Foot Controller 2 jack. The way the MODX comes out of the factory, the way it's configured, or many of the performances, they'll respond to the FC7 pedal when it's plugged into that Foot Controller 2 jack instead of 1. I don't know why Yamaha did that, but that's the way it is. And just as one example, usually you'll see the foot controller doing the same thing that this super knob does. So you probably can't see this, but as I'm pushing this pedal down, the super knob is moving clockwise and then counterclockwise. What that means is you can keep your hands on the keyboard and change the sound in whatever way you want. And again, many of the performances, if not most, of the 2,000 performances that come out of the factory in the keyboard will have some kind of response to that super knob or the foot controller. And the third pedal that I use is a Yamaha FC5. And this is it. It's basically a little sustain pedal, just on and off. And this I use to control organ sounds. I've got it set up, well, not just organ sounds, but that's my main use for it. I've actually got it set up so that it does the same thing that the mod wheel does. And I've got a little video to show you how to do that. But first, let me give an example. If I go to an organ sound, and here's an organ sound called The Basics, okay? So when I hit this, it just accelerates the Leslie to fast speed, and then when you let it go, it slows back down. That's exactly what the mod wheel would do. Mod wheel forward, mod wheel back. So essentially, this is just doing the same thing as the mod wheel, as I said. And here's a little video to show you how to set that up. So, to assign the foot switch to the mod wheel, we're going to select Utility. And on the Utility screen, we want to select Settings, Settings, and then MIDI I/O. And then down here, FS Assign. Initially, you'll see some kind of a high number there. And just use your control wheel on the keyboard to bring that number down to a 1. And once you've done that, you're finished. You can hit Exit. And from now on, when you press that foot switch, it'll speed up the Leslie just as if you were using the mod wheel. The mod wheel functionality remains, so you can do it either way. But I like using a foot switch because I can keep both hands on the keyboard when I'm playing organ sounds, and just use my right foot to turn the Leslie on and off, fast to slow. One more thing, when you turn the keyboard off, that setting will remain for the foot switch being assigned to the mod wheel. You can always change it again in the future if you ever need to. Okay, we're back. Something else I want to show you. You've heard in many of my little video clips that I'm playing along with backing tracks. How do I play the backing tracks? Well, they're residing in my iPad, so I send the files from the computer to the iPad, and then I plug the iPad into the A to D inputs on the back of the MODX. And then here in the upper left there's a section called A to D input, and after you've plugged in your phone or your tablet, you just turn this A to D input on, and then you can adjust the volume of whatever's coming in those A to D inputs, any kind of audio, and that audio gets blended with, mixed with the sounds of the keyboard itself. So everything comes out the main outputs of the keyboard. For a phone or an iPad, you'll need a cable, something like this. On one end it's got a 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch plug, and it's called a TRS because it's got 3 sections, tip, ring, sleeve. The other end is just split to dual mono phone plugs or 1/4 inch plugs, and these go into the 2 A to D inputs, left and right. This goes into your phone or your iPad or your tablet device, whatever it is, and that's it, you're in business. So it's very convenient to be able to play audio of any kind and run it right into the keyboard, and now everything comes out of the keyboard outputs without having to use another channel of a mixer. Plus it's really nice to be able to control the volume level of that, whatever audio is coming in, you can control it right here. That's really a great feature. I've got some videos to show you on things like the basic organization of the MODX, how the performances are organized, how to calibrate the touch panel. When I received my MODX, the touch panel didn't respond correctly to where I touched it. It was just off, and I thought that it was defective. Then I found out that in the utility area you can calibrate the touch panel, so I've got a video for that. Also, a lot of people don't like the flashing super knob. It's distracting, so I'll show you how to turn that off if you want to. And I've even reduced the brightness of the light. So even though it looks like it's pulsating now, that's just because of the interaction between the video camera and the keyboard, but it's actually solid. When you first turn on your new Yamaha MODX keyboard, you'll come to this page, and this is in an area called the live set area. There are basically 2 areas in the keyboard, this live set area, and then if you press this category button over on the right, it takes you to the performance category search area. But let's start with live set area, and you'll see in the upper left corner we're in a bank called preset, and we're on a page called Best of MODX1. The way the instrument's organized, you have performances, which are the individual patches or sounds, and performances reside in pages, and up to 16 performances per page. And then each bank can have up to 16 pages. And you'll see in this preset bank, you can scroll through the pages. There's Best of MODX1, Best of MODX2, and then several other pages. I think there are 15 pages in this preset area. And these are all fixed. These cannot be modified. In addition to the preset area, you have user banks. And these are the ones that you can fill with your own performances. And when I say your own performances, they could be performances that you've modified in a certain way, or they could just be stock factory performances that you wanted to move into a place to make them more readily accessible. And I'll give you an example. This is user bank 1. I renamed it General, and to rename the bank you just hit edit, and then you touch the bank name and you can give it a new name. I call this one General. And under my General bank I created a few pages, and again they can be renamed also by touching them, the page name. And so this first page I call pianos, and it's all acoustic pianos that I like to use. And then the next page I have under General is called electric pianos. These are various Fender Rhodes and Wurlitzers that I like. And then my next page under General are the organ performances that I like to use. And I've got one more, I think, which is just some animated performances. And they're performances that have built-in rhythms or some kind of motion happening. So let's go back to that first page of pianos. I also have another bank. It's another user bank. It's actually user bank 2, but I renamed it Gig Tunes. These are special performances that I've created and named after the songs themselves. So for example, the lowdown performance, I have it set up so that on the left side of the keyboard there's a Fender Rhodes and layered with an organ. The right side of the keyboard is a mellow trumpet sound layered with flute. And so that setup for the song Lowdown is really specifically for that song and not appropriate to other songs. And that's the way all of these gig tunes are for the most part. They're specifically created to work with just particular songs. So back to that General bank, if I just need a generic piano, I can pick any of these. If I need a generic Rhodes, I can pick any of these, or a Whirly, that kind of thing. And one more basic video. Here's a video that talks about calibrating the touchscreen. You go into Utility, press the Utility button, and then Settings and System. And then over here, Calibrate Touch Panel. And now it just tells you to touch squares that appear on screen. So touch that one, touch that one, touch that one, touch that one, and touch that one, and you're done. And while you're on the same page, Utility, Settings, System, down in the lower left you'll see knob flash, on or off. I really prefer it off. Knob brightness, turn down, whatever looks good to you. I'll take 80. Let's talk for a minute about what happens when you first turn the keyboard on. You can have it by default start up pretty much any place you want to. Go to Utility, and then you want to go to System. You'll see right at the top here, Power on Mode, Live Set. So that's telling me that when this keyboard is turned on, by default it's going to jump to the Live Set area, and it's going to also, beyond that, it's going to jump down to the User 1 bank. I could change that to the Performance area if I wanted to, but let's leave it on Live Set. And right now it's saying that it's going to go to bank User 1. But let's say I want it by default to always start up at my gig area, which is User 2. I'm going to hit that and exit, and I'm going to turn the keyboard off, and I'll turn it back on. So I just turned the keyboard off and back on, and it's booting up right now. And let's see where it starts. Yes, it started in Live Set area, bank 2, but you'll see that I had renamed this bank Gig Tunes. Are fairly simple, single part. And how can you tell? Well, the ones that are in green are single part performances. And let me demonstrate that. I'm going to pick CFX Stage. And then if I press this performance home key, we're seeing CFX Stage, and here are the parts. And you'll see there's only one part filled in. And there it is, CFX Stage. So that's a single part performance. I'll go back to that category search page. If I select one of the guys in blue, like CFX Concert, for example, and then hit that same performance home button, you'll see that this particular performance has actually 4 parts in it. Let's jump right now to another video that shows you how to copy a performance over to the live set area. It's not hard. To do that, very simple. You just hold down the Shift key and press Live Set. And now it's jumped over to the live set area. And I want to put this in a place that a bank rather. I'm going to select a bank that I've named Gig Tunes, Songs for Gigs. And I'm going to go to the second page. And I'm going to put this new performance in one of the blank slots. You have to touch it twice. And there it is. So now I've got this modified Pop Studio Grand performance saved in my live set area. It'll stay there indefinitely.